and welcome to episode 57 of Influence and Growth Mastery. I'm your host, Tanya Gossage. In today's episode, we're going to discuss the beliefs that hold us back from growing personally and professionally. As a lot of you know, I've had my business brand for quite some time, and now I'm working on my personal brand. So while there's a lot of similarities, there's also a lot of differences. But I feel like that the things that I am working on, many of you are working on a lot of the same things. And not only do we work on these things in our businesses as entrepreneurs and small business owners and even executives, we work on a lot of these things in our day-to-day lives. And I've spent some time touching on some of these things through previous podcasts, and even some of the guests that I've had on in the past week or so as I've been doing my challenge have even touched on some of these things. So I'm going to continue with that today. So we're going to be talking about what beliefs are holding us back. So as business owners, we often face challenges that require us to step outside of our comfort zones and take risk as we grow in our businesses. But again, and when I say as businesses, I'm also talking about personally. And then as I say personally, also know that you can interchange that as professionally. Or you can interchange that in any area of your life that you are working in today. So let's dive into some of the common limiting beliefs and how to overcome them. And I've got some notes. Actually, today I've printed some notes to have here in front of me because there's some things that I actually don't want to leave out. I oftentimes get started talking and then I don't even look at the bullet points or even the notes that I have jotted down because I get so into the discussion that I forget about that. So today I have some things that I want to bring out. But let's talk about one of the main ones. And I know children actually deal with this a lot, but I think we as adults do as well. But one of the big beliefs that we deal with personally and professionally is I'm not good enough. That's a huge limiting belief that we have. I'm not good enough. This belief can, prevent us from pursuing any opportunity that is out there for us. Whether it's taking risk, growing our business, doing something fun, taking the first step to overcome this belief is to challenge it, for example, and then to ask ourselves, what evidence do I have to support this belief that I'm not good enough? I was talking to someone not too long ago and I was asking them, do you believe in yourself? Do you love yourself? And the reaction that I got when I said, do you love yourself was like, I love other people, but do you love yourself? And when I asked that question, it was like, are you crazy? And I thought to myself, what is that person feeling inside when I asked that question? And I really wanted to know the answer to that. What are they feeling? What are they thinking? Because I felt that person didn't feel good about themselves. And I wanted to go into a coaching moment and a teaching moment, but it wasn't the place nor the time to even do that. So I could tell that I needed to move away in that particular situation, away from that conversation, because number one, it was a very uncomfortable conversation when I asked that question. But number two, we were not in a position, a place to go into that. So that's a conversation for another place, another time. But, what evidence do we have to support the belief that we are not good enough? I mean, I've been doing a lot of this self-work of who am I? And I am worth a whole lot more than I thought I was, even myself. And so, often we realize that our beliefs, they're not based on any facts, but on a tremendous amount of self-doubt and fear. And so by reframing the thinking that we have and focusing on all of our strengths and all of our accomplishments that we can develop, and a much more positive and confident mindset about ourselves is going to help us really understand that we are good enough. We are good enough to face whatever challenge is there in front of us. We are good enough to take this next step. We are good enough to face this risk that is in front of us. We are good enough to take on this next job or whatever, or this conversation with someone that we feel inferior to. Another self-limiting belief is, I'm too busy. I can't tell you how many times I have said myself, I'm too busy. As business owners, and even in the personal realm, we put ourselves in situations where we are too busy. And I do believe, number one, we put ourselves there, but number two, it's a limiting belief. We can do the things that we want to do, but I also believe that we have to take time to stop putting ourselves into those situations. And again, as I'm doing the work that I'm doing now, as I'm working with someone as a coach, I've told you guys before, those of you that have followed my podcast, that when I get finished with one coach, I'm like, okay, now what area do I need to work on? And I'm going to find another coach that can work with me in those particular areas because I want to get better. And while I'm working on my personal brand, and I'm working on me and losing weight and getting fit and TMI, but I'm getting ready to go get my eyebrows done, permanent makeup on my eyebrows and eyeliner and all these things. I get up oftentimes, I'm like, gosh, it takes me forever to do my makeup, takes me forever to do my hair. And gosh, wouldn't it be great if my makeup was already on every morning and I didn't have to do that much? And so I'm doing that for me. I've always taken time to do things for other people. And now it's time to do things for me. Tanya Gossage, it's time to do things for me. And I can do those things now, and I'm going to do those things now. And so, by having that limited belief that I'm too busy is because I made myself too busy. And so now I'm saying no to things to unbusy myself. I'm not partnering with as many people as I was partnering with. I'm learning to say yes to those things that are really going to drive the income to me, and saying no to those things that do look great, but do I really have the time to do those things? And if I have the time and they are truly phenomenal income producing activities, then yes. If they're not, I don't have the time for them. Because if I don't have the time for them, I truly can't take care of you who are my clients, and all the time shuffling the papers that are on my desk and doing the things that I can't be doing. And you as a business owner and entrepreneur can't do it either. So you need to figure out how to prioritize your time effectively and take action towards your goals. And I did a story yesterday on Facebook. I was at Tropical Smoothie and I went there. I got out of home and away from my dog, who, when everybody's, coming around the neighborhood and their dogs are barking, he's barking, he wants to go out and play. And I wanted to get away and go out and get in the sun. And that was recommended to me by my coach. Go get in the sun, get some you time, and spend some time creating content and working on the things that you need to work on. And so I was working on my Dream 300 list. I've made it to 100, but I have 200 more things to put on my dream list. And it's like, gee, do I even have 300 dreams? And we do, but you have to do a lot of work to figure out what all your dreams are. And so I needed to get away and figure that out, and to figure out what are all the things that I've said yes to that I need to go back and say, I can't do anymore because I filled my time up with so much busy work that I don't have time for me. And so, the first step is to overcome the belief, to identify what your critical tasks are. So make a list of all of your critical tasks. I have a notebook. I bought a notebook that it's designed almost like a task list, but it's a notebook that everything I have to do goes down in that notebook, and I can prioritize them by highlighter every day. They also go on my calendar, what I am going to do today. But I look at things and I'm like, you know what? That was a priority 2 weeks ago, but today it's not a priority. Scratch. I'm not even going to do that anymore. It's not even a focus anymore. And I may have to contact somebody and say, I said I was going to do this, but I'm not going to do it anymore. And we have to set realistic goals, create a schedule for us that we can focus on the most important things, and overcome that belief that we're too busy. And if I can do it, I can tell you one dang thing, you can too. And so I've always been a busy person. I'm very driven. I'm admitting this to you. I am very driven towards success, but I do believe that you can have success and have a limited amount of tasks and get them done, and not have a notebook full of to-do items all the time that keeps you behind. And so I'm too busy is one of those limiting beliefs that we need to work on. Another one is I don't know enough. I don't know enough information to go live. I'll tell you that when many of you may know, one of my prior employees when I worked in corporate, in banking, and then one of my employees and contractors, he's a contractor for me now, but he was an employee for me in my business, Jeffrey. He does all of my editing for my podcast. And Lord Jesus, I do not know what I would do without that man. He is my saving grace. I had one employee as my left arm and hand in banking, and he was my right arm. One was my left and one was my right. It didn't matter which one was which, but I had one on each arm. And he's still there today. I have to have him. And so I would always say, what am I going to do my podcast on? And he would be like, you're full of content. Do something. And he would throw an idea out there. And I would say, oh, well, that's a great idea. I'll do that. And I remember at Valentine's Day when I was like, what do I do it on? And he gave me an idea and I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. And so, we know enough information. And I will tell you, even now, I'm a life learner. I always will be. That's not something that I can probably give up. But I find myself, when it's time to do something live, I'm like, what the heck am I going to talk about? Even though I have hundreds of thousands of tidbits or millions even of information in my head, the minute you speak a video or say go live, it zeroes out. It goes blank. that floppy disk, that old floppy disk in my head, it gets erased. There's just seems to be nothing there. And that is a limiting belief that I have. I know enough. The coach that I'm working with now, he's like, you don't need all of that content. Don't buy any more content to absorb. You have your own content. And he's so right. You have your own content. Go use it. Go spread the Tanya love across the world. And that is, what I'm learning to do is spread my knowledge. I have so much knowledge. Like I say, I have so much knowledge. And so the limiting belief of I don't know enough is a lie from the pit of hell. And so you are in the same boat that I am. You know enough to seek enough opportunities. You know enough to start your own business. You know enough. Do not be afraid to make a mistake. If you listened to my podcast yesterday, I made probably one of the largest, most humiliating mistakes in my business. And that was recording a full 55-minute podcast and never hit the record button. And that podcast was phenomenal. And I'm going to have to redo it on Friday. Those things happen. And so don't be afraid that you don't have enough information or that you do not have all of the answers. I will never have all of the answers. Tony Robbins will never have all of the answers. John Maxwell will never have all of the answers. Grant Cardone will never have all of the answers. Robin Sharma will never have all of the answers. All of the gurus out there in the world will never have all of the answers. And so they too make mistakes. And so by embracing a growth mindset and seeking new information and resources can be overcome of our fear. And so all you have to do is work toward your goal. I work toward my goal. You work towards your goal and overcoming the fear of not knowing enough, and you will succeed. Another limiting belief is that you can't do it alone. You can do it alone. You do not have to have somebody doing it with you, beside you, a partner, a co-owner, whatever. You can be a solopreneur. You can do it. People do it every single day. And this belief does prevent you from seeking help and collaboration. You do want to seek help from mentors, networking people, and other entrepreneurs. And you do want to delegate tasks to people, but know that it is not critical that you have to have them by your side 100% of the time, because you can do it alone. You just want to build yourself a support system, a robust business support system, or a robust personal friends and family support system, and go about your way, and do it. And then another one is, I am afraid of failure. Why? Why are we, and I'm going to say we, not you, why are we afraid of failure? I know why. We don't want to be embarrassed. We don't want people thinking bad of us. We don't want to look inferior. All of those things. And because of those things, it keeps us from showing up or doing the thing. It keeps us from trying new things. It keeps us from growth, and it keeps us from success. And so we need to overcome the belief that we're afraid of failure. We need to lean into it, step over it. I've used the analogy of being petrified of heights, flying in a helicopter, And then when I flew in my first helicopter, I absolutely loved it. And then this past summer, I flew in another helicopter. As soon as my granddaughter and her best friend and I finished that helicopter ride, which was their first helicopter ride, we turned right around and got on a longer helicopter ride. And now today, I love helicopters. So there are other things that I'm petrified of. Someday I will try them. And I am challenging myself to do things that I'm afraid of. When I first started podcasting, I was petrified. When I did the first one, I said, I can do this. Sign me up, Jeffrey. Go do all of the whatever it is that he had to do to get me set up to do this. Do it, because now I'm ready. And do I think some of them are flops? Yes. But you know what? I don't care. At least I'm showing up, and at least I'm doing it. When I get through with April, I can tell you I'm going to be a heck of a lot better than I am today. And I can tell you I'm a heck of a lot better today than I was last year when I started. I am now episode 57, which is a lot more than episode 1. Or a lot more than episode 0. At least I have gotten started. And it took them almost a year to talk me into doing it. Why? I was holding myself back from success. And today, well, at the end, I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But I tell you, we need to get over the fear of failure because it's holding us back. The other one is not having enough resources. That's another limiting belief. You guys know as well as I do, the world of the internet and the world of apps, which is also the internet, and the world of people and networking is filled with resources. There's so many resources out there that I'm learning every day that there's things out there that have been there a year that I didn't even know about it. So I love the word of mouth. Share with people. Resources are there. Ask people. Ask people. The first step to overcoming this belief is recognize that resources come in many forms, including time, money, relationships, and many other forms that are out there. And so by identifying our strengths and leveraging existing resources that we have and overcome this belief, and the more that we take action towards our goals, we're going to get the resources that we need to be successful, both personally and professionally. So I am learning every day that there's resources out there that help accelerate me in both of the areas that I'm wanting to go. And by accessing these resources, and let me just throw this out there, resources don't always come at a cost. There are many resources out there that are free. There are many resources out there that just takes your time, a simple conversation. And when you have simple conversations, you are building up your relationships. You may, in that conversation, get a connection that moves you to the next level. So I cannot stress enough what all of this means when it comes to working on these limiting beliefs. And so let's go over there. Let me summarize them again. I'm not good enough. I'm too busy. I don't know enough. I can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. And I'm afraid of failure. Let me look on this next page of my notes here. And I don't have enough resources. So I know there are many, many, many more limiting beliefs, but I didn't want to keep you here forever going over all of those. So in conclusion today, limiting beliefs can significantly, I'll say that word again, significantly. A long time ago, I had a hard time saying that word, but significantly hinder your growth towards success, both, personally and professionally, whether You are an executive, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you're a mother, you're a father, you're a sibling, whomever in this audience is listening to this. Limiting beliefs can hold you back and keep you from growing. So by challenging these beliefs and reframing your thinking, you can develop a more positive and confident mindset. And I want you to remember, success in business is not, and I will repeat, it is not about being perfect. It is not. I have learned that. It has nothing to do with about being perfect. It has nothing to do with about being rich. It is about taking action, having clarity, and having courage. About taking action, about having clarity, and having courage, and learning from your mistakes. And so I want to say to you today that if you're finding these interviews or the topics that we share on these podcasts interesting or of value, please share these podcasts with a friend. I would love for you to do that. You know, I leverage my platform, my podcast platform, and my Facebook group, which has just started. It's not, I've not spent as much time in the Facebook group as I have these podcasts. And I'm doing this challenge this month. And in May, the Facebook group will take off a whole lot faster. But I leverage this platform not to only share valuable insights and advice with a much wider audience, but also really to provide my guests and my clients with an opportunity to showcase their expertise and to reach new markets. This podcast serves as a hub for entrepreneurs and small business owners to, number one, connect, collaborate, and to learn from one another, which is going to expand their networks and their resources. And I appreciate every single one of these listeners, all of you as listeners, and helping the world by sharing the words. I thank you again for being an active listener and for being a subscriber. And I'm going to be back soon for another episode. Goodbye. And I love you from the bottom of my heart. Mwah. See ya.